Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Canada's podcast. I'm Rivers Corbett, the Atlantic Canada host, lucky enough to win the jackpot of jackpots, representing this amazing region in Canada. And there's some really cool stuff happening in Atlantic Canada when it comes to entrepreneurs. And my guest today, Ken LeBlanc, is no kind of mystery towards that piece. He started his business, PropertyGuys.com, in Moncton, New Brunswick, and continues to now grow an international business from Moncton, New Brunswick. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that story. So let me just kind of get in a bit. First of all, hey, Ken, good to see you, dude. You're looking hot. You know, golfing later today?
Thanks,
It's a snappy golf shirt you got going on.
Tomorrow morning. I'm all set for tomorrow, though.
Where are you golfing at?
Royal Oak.
Yeah. Nice golf course, man. Nice golf course. Well, Ken has really successfully challenged an established industry, which is all about real estate. PropertyGuys.com, for those of you that know about it, has been really about zagging when everybody else zigs, and that's really what my whole shtick is about. He selfishly shares his passion for helping others to build a business through activities such as the Canadian Youth Business Foundation. I want to talk a bit about that too. He's been in business, building his own business since his student days. And one of our previous guests, Dr. Danny Brown, talked very highly of you. I asked him about whether or not he had taught all of you guys. And he said, yes, except for Walter was in and off. And I said, well, that's probably the one you don't want in your class anyway, Dr. Brown. So
the unteachable.
The unteachable, exactly. And he's driven his drive and vision into the largest real estate marketing franchise network in Canada, which is absolutely the truth, and is now forging into other markets such as Australia. And I think, Ken, I saw something about South Africa. Is that a market that
That's correct.
You're playing?
Yeah. We've got I think our team there has already got over 9 franchises in the first 10 months of operations there. So they're growing really quickly. So pretty excited for South Africa team as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. Okay, well, let's kind of dive into it. Take us back to those days. And as they say, you told this story again. This is all about, one, being proud of being from Atlantic Canada, being an entrepreneur. Then we're going to touch on some elements as to why you stayed there when you could have had a chance to go to the big smoke. But tell us about those initial days when that seed of an idea, because it started when you guys were in school, if I remember.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we were first-year business students at the time. It was called Atlantic Baptist University. Today it's called Crandall. So we're first-year business students, and a lot of people think, Rivers, that it was a school project. It wasn't. It was just something we happened to pull off as we were in school, and we were very fortunate to go to an amazing university. It was fairly small, so all the professors were able to to work with us one-on-one. I mean, I look back at some of those days. We had some exam dates change so we could attend home shows and things like that. And,
nice.
And had some amazing, that was really cool to have that. So back in the day, as we're going to school, myself, my business partner, Jeremy Dumont, still partners today, 23 years later, still business partners in this venture. But we kept seeing these orange and black for sale by owner signs, these FSBO signs, you would call them, for sale by owner.
You get them at Canadian Tire, right?
Yeah,
those are the
Canadian
ones.
Tire, exactly. You still get them there, the hardware stores and stuff. But at the time, neither one of us knew anything about real estate. I was renting an apartment. JD was living at home and driving back and forth to school, kind of, living off campus. And we knew nothing about real estate. It's like, but we kind of like, why are people putting these Canadian Tire signs on their front lawn to sell their house? Because we would watch them, and then a couple of weeks later, to be like a traditional real estate sign on the front lawn. So it doesn't make any sense. Is that what they do to get agents to go and pitch them so they can actually list their house with an agent, right? So no clue whatsoever. So we looked into it. And at the exact same time, I was developing, taught myself HTML. So I was developing websites for local companies. So, I did one for the local radio station. A couple of my friends had small businesses. So I created these websites for them. This is before you could actually go and, GoDaddy. That's why I would buy domain names for them. I'd build them a site in HTML. So I said to Jay, I said, you know what, these FSBO signs, let's go talk to a couple of them out and figure what's going on. So went and knocked on some doors, and then people, another great thing about being Atlantic Canadian, come on in, put a pot of coffee on, we'll chat. So just kind of figured out, so it was so cool. They're talking about how this thing works, right? So we found out real quick that, the reason why they're trying to sell for sale by owner style is that they are trying to save a few bucks, which is obvious. Most people want to save money. But more importantly, Rivers, what we found is they wanted control. So we didn't know at the time that if you called an agent would come in and they would basically take control of your house, is what we were told from these for sale by owners. They would tell you when they're going to show it. Yeah, they would tell you when they're going to show it. They would tell you what you're going to ask for it. They would actually negotiate on your behalf how much you're going to get for your house. And the homeowners, the FSBO homeowners, at times said, I want to control that process. I know my house better than anybody else. Why would I have some agent who's never been in my house show my house? So why are they only taking one photo of the outside of the house instead of showing all the beautiful features I have inside and exterior stuff? So we thought, JD and I thought, let's create a little website. We'll do something local here in Moncton. There was no Kijiji at the time. There was no, Craigslist or any of those.
Fax machines are still going on, right?
We actually used to get faxes into the school. So fax machines are still going on. So she said, we'll create this website. And what we'll do is we'll organize all these private sale listings. We'll actually be fully disclosing potential buyers by adding interior photos. We'll let the homeowners show the house because they know the house better than anybody else. And then we'll just step out of the way. We'll charge them a fee up front, a flat marketing fee, and we'll advertise our house on their front lawn. So there's a great story about our signs, but on the front lawn with a nice propertyguys.com sign, we'll actually we'll run a classified ad for you in the Moncton Times and Transcript. So you get a newspaper ad to drive people to this thing called the internet at the time. So 1998, so people still have to get comfortable with it, and that was how the whole idea started. So I didn't have a whole lot of money. Basically, we were bootstrapping from day one. JD and I put together $100. We bought the domain name. We registered our business, and we kicked it off. So what we did early on, one of the lessons, and we still teach this today when we talk to new franchisees, but one of the things we did early on is we knew that if we were going to convince people to give us, I think it was like a couple $100 at the time, like $200 to list on our propertyguys.com website. We knew if we were going to convince people to do that they didn't want to be the first one in the game. So we had to fill that basket with inventory. So we did this thing, we call this thing called sampling. So we went out and we basically knocked at all the for sale by owners in the community, said, look, we're organizing for sale by owner. We're the property guys. We want to put your house on the internet free of charge to you, but we're going to put you on this thing called the World Wide Web. We're going to put a sign in your front lawn, and people from all over the world are going to be able to see your house and make you an offer. And we convince people, say, yeah, I'll give that a shot. So we do, but we have to build that inventory. So we had like 20, 30 listings on our platform before we actually started marketing our business and trying to grow it. But
nice.
Yeah. And honestly, it was an overnight success, quite honestly, in Moncton. It just really I think the first year, as we were full-time business, I think we had over 100 listings in our first year just in Greater Moncton. And it just took off overnight because people were just early adopters, right? They all want to be part of this internet thing. They thought it was super cool that we're having interior photos, And back in the day, if you want to buy a house, you had to call an agent and he would bring the book, the big old white book, the catalog.
Yeah, the MLS book,
go through that. Yeah, the MLS book. And you go through it. So I like to see that one. And he would organize a showing. And it was all about control, right? And so we found early on that our customers wanted control. They want to set the price. Of course, everyone wants to save a few dollars. So that was a kind of a bonus for them. But it was more about the control aspect of it. So that's how it kicks off.
That's so interesting, Ken, because a great lesson to entrepreneurs. Again, you found that pain point. And when everybody looks, not everybody, I'm not going to say that, there's a lot of people look from the outside into your business and they say, well, I just don't have to pay the 6% or whatever. And they would naturally go to, that's the reason why it's successful. But I've always said that you can't win the game of business if you're going to be price competitive. That's all you are. It doesn't work that way. And you've touched into an emotional piece, which is that control piece, which is a niche. There's others that don't want that control. They just say, just go ahead and sell it. That's not your market. You say, go ahead, have the Royal Pages. But our market for those who want to control their journey. I love that piece that you've reinforced that. Now, there is a story about a liberal political sign. So tell me about that story about the liberal political
Well, that's what I was just this funny story on signs that. So once we actually kick this business online, we need to have some type of offline presence. And in real estate, offline presence is typically signs online. So when you own the sign, that's your piece of real estate, that's your marketing, that's your billboard. So we knew early on we had to get a bunch of signs in the community. So we did the sampling thing. But again, shoestring, universities, no money whatsoever. So we decided that, hey, it was just like this week here in Moncton again, across the country, there was a national election. Election was over. We saw all these big, giant Coroplast signs. So we called the local Liberal leader at the time, Claudette Bradshaw, and said, Claudette, what do you guys do with these signs after the election? Because, well, typically we have a crew that goes and picks them up, and we just, we recycle them, we throw them away. Why are you asking? Well, we've got a business. We'd like to take them down and use whatever, just fill your boots, whatever you want to get. So we went, I think we pulled like 40 or 50 signs down. We chopped them down into the size we wanted. And it's kind of funny because we had glued two together because they were only single, most of them were single-sided. So we used the side that wasn't printed on, and we printed on the back of these recycled election signs is what it was. So if you drove by someone, you could turn around like, why is Claudette Bradshaw?
That's so brilliant, man. That's so brilliant. So you kept her on the other side.
We did, yeah. Usually we glued them together, but yeah, most of them were glued together. But if one ever came apart, then you could see it was that recycled election sign. But great stories, all about bootstrapping and doing what you need to do right early on. For us, it was, we didn't have the budget to go and get custom, like we see today, our beautiful round lollipop signs and things like that. So,
yeah, they're beautiful. So it's when I'm talking to you, and I consider you to be a great friend. I said, this is the story. They started with these Liberal signs and $100 in their pocket, and just so proud of the journey that you've been on for over 20 plus years. So
23 years now. Yeah, crazy.
23 years, overnight success. So you got you and Jeremy, and I know there's some other guys that were involved, but I want to talk about you two right now. How did you decide that you were going to be the president and CEO? What went through that whole process? And how did you do it, and why you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think at the time we had a third partner, Michael Ryder, who was part of our business early on. The three of us were the original property guys. JD and I were graduating from university, so we're getting our degrees out of Crandall. Michael had another year left, so he was a bit of a crossroads. So we decided on our fourth year when we're graduating, like, it was like I said, it was an overnight success in Moncton quite quickly, that we decided that this is going to be our gig. My intentional turns, I was supposed to go on and continue my education. I was going to get a law degree and become a lawyer. But you know what? This property guys thing is hot. We were just looking into franchising at the time as well. So we're going to expand. And, we thought we were really onto something. So we said, this is it. We're going to do it full time. Michael didn't have the time to do that. So he decided, you know what, guys, I understand you guys are taking it to another level. I can't. I need to bow out, finish my education, and wish you all the best. So we ended up buying Michael out, but it gave us an opportunity to bring on Dale Betts and Walter at the same time. So we brought in, the original four property guys coming to the business at that time.
Right.
The leadership part, basically, I think what it was is if you look at myself, Walter, Jeremy, and even Dale back in the day when he was a partner at Property Guys, you're not going to find any four people any more different than the four of us.
Right.
We are very, 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 and I think I talk about that with other groups as well. When you bring just partnerships, you don't want someone who is a yes man. You don't want someone who's going to agree with everything. You don't want someone who has the same skill sets as you and the same, obviously the same beliefs in regards to marketing and things like that. So we really complement each other by bringing in what we call the four corners of a successful business. And obviously my personality is an A-type personality. I'm a leader. I take charge. I'm very, they call me a bit of a bulldog-ish, and our company, our company being a disruptor and going head to head, we needed someone to lead the company with that type of persona. We didn't want to be known as a passive persona. We didn't want to be known as, kind of way out there in regards to ideology. It's more like someone who's going to stand up and stand on the front lines and muscle your way through whatever challenges are coming along the way. So that's where we decided. I took the leadership position. Initially, it was my idea initially, obviously, but they were on day one with me when I pitched it to them. But it's primarily because of the leadership style that we brought to the table, and everyone's been able to work very well with that structure.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I see so many leaders, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, starting their business, and it's all for the wrong reasons that they choose the CEO or the VP of marketing, because you've got the Facebook page and so on. And so I think that question is so important as part of our journey. So you got into franchising earlier. That was a part of your strategy pretty well since, I'm going to say plan anyway, whether or not it was execution or not right away. But why franchising? Why not ownership of your own model? Again, just why franchising? Because you're a big fan of it.
I am a big fan of it, and quite honestly, I'll tell you, Two reasons. One is a real, I guess, the right reason and a logical reason, because when we looked at expanding our footprint across the country, we looked at multiple ways to expand. Like you said, we could open up corporate offices. We could expand in product lines and became more of a classified section where it's not just selling houses, but cars and boats and that. There's all kinds of different avenues for us to expand. But we knew in this channel we were in, which was real estate and residential real estate, in order to be successful, we needed feet on the street. So real estate is won and lost that we'll call this 3-foot arena. Like people only buy and sell houses from the people they trust. So in order to establish that, we needed local representations across the country. Well, we didn't have the budget to open up corporate offices, hire managers, directors, area reps and all this stuff. So for us, when we looked at franchising as an option, it made sense. We're going to get people interested in our deal. They're actually going to pay us, invest in our business. And then they're going to be responsible to promote and grow their business locally. Now we need to split obviously with the royalty structure. So they're going to get the lion's share of the money for doing that, but we get to expand our footprint. We get to grow. We get this royalty structure. We get opinions, from coast to coast and now internationally on how to improve our product services because they're in the front line. So for us, franchising was the ideal situation. Now, being an Atlantic Canadian company, it was difficult. I'm not going to lie. We knew nothing about franchising. Asked Danny Brown. I got an A+ on it, but I got my senior thesis was on franchising because there was very little at the time. In like if you went to like a Chapters or a bookstore and even Googled it, when you Google the word franchising, it was all about how to buy a franchise and what to look for in a franchise. There was nothing on how to set up a franchisor, like to be a franchisor. So one of the things I did, like I said, I did my senior thesis and I joined the Canadian Franchise Association right away. I think I don't even know if we had a franchise on board before we even joined there. And I was so lucky that association took me in like their adopted child because there wasn't a lot of franchisors from Atlantic Canada. I can name them all in one hand how many franchisors are here. So they took us in. I ended up getting a seat on their board of directors and ended up working my way up to be the chair of the Canadian Franchise Association. You did. But I learned a lot from just being part of that association in franchising, and that's what allowed us to expand now. Like I said, Australia, South Africa. We're in Texas and Florida, so we went to the U.S. this year as well. So the franchising avenue for us is the perfect avenue. There's ups and downs with franchising. I mean, you are kind of, especially in our brand Rivers, we give exclusive franchise areas. So we're betting on one horse to be successful. Yeah. And just like professional sports, your number one draft pick may not always turn out. So there is those challenges in franchising. So you work through those, but that's just part of the whole, I guess, the whole ecosystem in franchising.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because who was when I was running the Relish organization, you recommended me to the gentleman out of Toronto. You remember the lawyer, the franchise lawyer? I mean, I don't even know if
Danso.
Yeah,
Danso.
Yeah, are you
still
hanging out with him? Yeah,
100%. He's still our lawyer today. Yep.
Great guy. But one of the things he warned me about when we began our journey with that franchise is he said, Rivers, your biggest challenge, and this is what I want you to talk about. One, I'm sure you've run into it. Two, I want to know how you now prepare for it not to happen. He said, the biggest challenge that you're going to run into when running a franchise is rogue franchisees, those that want to do it their own way. I got this, I know this, and so on. And he's so freaking right for a novice, the guy, and you think you got the pieces right. So talk about that. How do you guys prepare for that and minimize it?
Yeah, well, it does happen in franchising, and I guess the challenge with franchising that most people, when they think of franchising, they think of McDonald's, Tim Hortons, like the big franchisors, the Subways and that, and they have a very, very tight structure, very tight operation manual, very tight, hours of operation. Like they've got everything kind of lays out for you. So what we have to do in our business, because we're not like that. We are, like I said, even though we're a franchise network, real estate is local. So we need to be able to be flexible. And we created this thing called structured entrepreneurs. So it's basically an entrepreneur who you need to be, you still need to be entrepreneurial in spirit to run your franchise, but there is a structure. There is a set of rules that we've created as a franchisor they need to follow. There's certain things you can say, certain things you can't say. There's brand, you want to keep the brand on par and that. So what we do is we look for those types. So when we bring in a franchisee, we kind of look for that type of persona. So we have the perfect persona. We profile them. They get interviewed by other franchisees. We have a very tight, as you know from Dan, so a very tight franchise agreement that's clear, black and white. If they step out of line, I guess another disadvantage of being a Atlantic Canadian, there's not a whole lot of them, but one of it is that as a franchisor is that we tend to, as Atlantic Canadians, be a little more open to ideas, a little more relaxed when it comes to implementing policies and compliance.
We want to work with you. You're a bull.
I know.
Come on.
I'm a bull, but not a downtown Toronto bull, right? So, but I'm still a people person, right? I still want people to be successful. So we try to work with people. Like, we don't send out defaults like Dan would recommend we would do if someone, with, their posts or their sign wasn't the right color and off the spec or something like that. Like, we'll try to work with them. So I'll call you up, like, Rivers, come on, like, be to fix it and explain to you. Yeah, don't worry, I can. I'll take care of it. If we go. So because of that, we get taken advantage of by franchisees.
Right.
So we really have to be very, very open and clear and communicate to the system what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. They have a backyard, that they can play in, but there is a fence around it. And you can only go so far in your backyard. So as long as they have that backyard and they can scratch that itch, because I'll tell you one thing, in our system, and like most franchise systems, every franchisee thinks you're a marketing expert. And they all want to play marketer, and they want to play some stuff with the brand and mix some things up. So you got to really keep an eye and keep that tight. So the way we protect ourselves, Rivers, is we train them. We have a really amazing training session. We call it PGU, PropertyGuys.com University. So they're trained in what they can do and what they can't do. They're trained because these people are going to people's houses, right? So they're talking for the most part, people's most valuable asset they're ever going to own in their life, which is their house. So you got to be professional. You got to present yourself a certain way. There is some regulations that we got to follow because we're in real estate, even though we're not in real estate. So we're not playing by the real estate rules that are per se that other agents play in. So, so we we attract these disruptors. So as you know, disruptors don't want to play by the rules. They want to make their own rules. So we have to balance it that way. And we've been doing pretty good at it for the most part.
Yeah, I think you have. And look, again, when I had the Relish brand, it was about, we're not here to hurt people. What we're here to protect is the family. It's not just about them we're trying to protect. We're trying to protect this brand, which is other people involved. You got other families involved, and they bought into a system. And so you're making sure that you're trying to protect that. Ken, you were
one of the ways. Sorry, Riv, I was just going to add to that. One of the ways, and just because it just came to my mind, one of the ways that we've been able to protect that, and I know you probably didn't experience with Relish, but what happens when you get to a certain size? You create a community of franchisees. So we have our franchisee advisory council, and you get other franchisees. And the good franchisees who built good businesses, they don't want their neighbors doing anything rogue that could harm their business. So we don't have to police as much. They're kind of self-police now amongst their own group, which is awesome for us. So yeah.
There's nothing better than peer-to-peer responsibility. So that's very cool. You were ahead of the game, as you know, with the internet, the WWW, World Wide Web, the information highway. Remember, it was called the information highway.
Oh yeah.
Point time. But COVID came along, and even though I'm sure you were well ahead of the ability to hang out in that space, what adjustments did Property Guys have to make because of COVID?
Fortunately for us, very little. We were, like I said, we've seen it come, and not COVID, but we saw this video conferencing thing being a necessary for customers who just, I don't have time, but how about we just do an info appointment and do a video conference? So we saw things like that. We built technology to allow our customers and our franchisees to upload their own listings and APIs to plug into other platforms. So we have the technology there for them. The biggest pivot for us, even our training session here. So we turn our physical PGU in this room in right now, which would sit 20, 30 people, we turn it into a virtual PGU. So we just did our last PGU training session last week. We had 19 people in the room, and I don't think we could have pulled it off even if we wanted physically. We had 8 people from South Africa. We had 2 from Texas. We had 4 from Florida, and I think 2 from British Columbia and a couple from Newfoundland. So, I mean, it's just to get those different time zones and put that all together and under one roof and have that, virtually, which was even better for us here because physically when we were having our PGUs physically at the building, well, the whole office kind of shut down for that week. because you have people, you're entertaining, you're going out for dinners, you're doing all those things. So you lose a bit of that culture and you lose a little bit of the social. But on the other hand, you get to be able to, properly educate and share ideas with them virtually, which you couldn't do before. So again, COVID for us was awesome in regards of not hurting our business in any way. And actually, as you know, the real estate in Atlantic Canada and throughout Canada actually just went red hot. Yeah, red hot. So just our franchisees were just, making the best of it as they could. And the little pivot they had to go over is, instead of showing up at your house, Rivers, now I'm going to send you a link and log in with your computer and we'll talk you through the program. So that's kind of how it went down.
I love it. Yeah, which fits well with your process anyway, being that it's a lot of virtual. Ken, we talked about at your intro with regards to your work with youth and business. Can you talk about that journey, that focus, and why?
I've always been a personal big fan of youth entrepreneurs. So we're big into JA now here in Moncton. The Futurepreneur, which was the old Ypreneur before that you talked about, that was on their board. So it's always been kind of a drive for me, I guess, being a young entrepreneur and going through the challenges as a young entrepreneur, being taken seriously and things like that. I think it was important for me as I matured as a business owner to be able to help young entrepreneurs get, kind of break down some of those barriers. So that's why it's been near to your, not just my heart, but even my partners are the same way. Walter and Jeremy, we both believe heavily in the future of the young minds in entrepreneurship. And I think, we hire young people to come into this office. I may not be entrepreneurs. We always try to be, like Walter says, I want to be the oldest person in the office, because I think there's so much we can learn from the young people, staying hip, staying current, and ahead of the curve. So it's pretty exciting to work with those groups. Yeah.
What's your message to young entrepreneurs leaning in right now? You started out as a young entrepreneur. You're at your journey now, 23 years in. What's a nugget or two that you would share with them beginning their journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I really think that, to me, and I've always said this, even before COVID, but I really think that you'll be successful if whatever you're doing it for the right reason. And for me, the right reason is, it's my passion. I want to do it, right? If you want to be a YouTuber or an influencer, do it. That's your passion. Go for it. If you're doing it because you think you can make money at it, or you think that there's you're going to be rich someday because you're building this big company, or whatever, that's the wrong reason in my eyes. We built Property Guys from the ground up with $100 and a good idea, and it was because we really wanted to change the face of real estate, and that was our passion and our drive. And then we got into franchising because nothing gets me more excited than seeing a franchisee go to someone's house and successfully putting a sign in their front lawn and getting paid to do that, thinking, wow, I just helped that franchisee make money for his family or her family on an idea that we had 23 years ago. So to me, every time I see a sign pop up to me, that's what it's all about. So, and these are entrepreneurs as well, starting their business. So, and we attract people. And when I look at, the personas, like, passion needs to be there. Like, if you're buying a PropertyGuys.com franchise because you want to make a boatload of money, that's not the right reason to buy a franchise in our eyes. You buy because you want to make a difference in your community, or you want to make a difference in your lifestyle. You want to control a little more of your work-life balance, whatever that reason is. Tell me that's why you're buying it. If it's to make money, you'll make money. Don't worry about it. But it's not the reason that's going to keep people up. Because when the money, when you hit a hard time or whatever happens, like most there's a lot of roller coasters in entrepreneurship, right? And if you're doing it for just the money, and I guarantee you, there's going to be a time when there's not much money coming in. You'll just pack up and leave town, and that's not what we built this around. So you need that passion and drive. So I always tell the young entrepreneurs the same thing. Like, hey, if you believe in this idea and you love doing this idea, the money part will come naturally. Don't worry about that. That's secondary.
Tell me about your dining room table conversations with your wife and your daughter around PG. How does that operate, or is it taboo?
I wouldn't say it's taboo, but it isn't usually part of the subject. I've got a teenage daughter, Isabel, 15. I used to be cool. I'm not so cool anymore. She's 15, right? So like we were just on the cover of a national magazine, and I kind of brought one home, and she looked at it and rolled her eyes like, oh yeah, here you are again. It's like you can't win, right? So yeah, no, I mean, and my wife has been amazing. She's supporting us since day one. I always say I equate a lot of our success and my personal success to her. Not too many women who will allow you to travel the world, be gone nights and weekends, working till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 4 in the morning, going to work, and and not saying buzz about it and just kind of having your back, taking care of our daughter and doing things that need to be. So she's been amazing support that way. And you know what? When I involve her, like in going to our national conference and that, she loves going there. She loves meeting the franchisees, but she's never trying to, pull or push any agenda in regards to Property Izana. So she knows my persona. Like I believe it or not, I'm an introvert. I like my downtime. I like my alone time. I get charged from sitting at home watching a Leaf game with my dad. And that's kind of where my, I get back into that, even though it was very painful last year.
Very painful. I was talking to Dr. Brown about that the other day. For those of you that are not hockey fans, Montreal and Toronto got together in the first round. Toronto bowed out at the last minute, and Montreal went on to the final, which I think was probably more painful than the bow out.
It was.
To watch that go on. So
I don't know what would have done. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done if they would have won the cup. I'm not sure I'd be talking hockey anymore.
My biggest fear as a hockey fan is to have Toronto and Montreal meet in the final, and they could have the last time Montreal won the final in '93.
Yeah,
and it was to lose. To have the final and then to lose to Toronto.
Lose to the other team. Yeah, exactly.
That's the worst thing. So tell us, we're turning the bend on being close to finishing Canada. I can't thank you enough. You're always giving so much of your time to me as a friend and a colleague, but also in the community. Why Atlantic Canada? Why'd you stick around Atlantic Canada when you could have gone to Toronto and hung out with your buddies there in the Leafs in the Leafs fans, because you're big. Yeah. I remember there's one story you done that you were out skating with them or something at one point in time.
Yeah. No, I love the Leafs. I'm definitely a diehard. I'll die a Leaf fan for sure. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Why Atlantic Canada? You know what? Born and raised here. Got some family left, not a lot, but some family left here. But for me, I think Rivers, and I touched on it earlier. I think the Atlantic Canadian persona, or I guess mentality of giving, working, communicating. And I've been able to travel this beautiful country from coast to coast. I've been through every single state in the US. I've been to Australia. I've been all over the world. And I tell you, there's nothing like Atlantic Canadians in regards of willing to help one another, have each other's back, support you. Like I look at the early days, like I went to Atlantic Canadian University. I don't think there's any other university in this country even where professors would take phone calls for you, help you with your marketing, move exam dates, and still 23 years later, still have a relationship that you can call up as a buddy and a favor at any time. And you get that in Atlantic Canada, right? So I think and then just the way the community embraces the brand, embraces you as an entrepreneur, and puts you on a pedestal, which is nice. It's definitely not the small pond, big fish mentality. It's more so. I really think it fits our. I talked about the passion and drive and why you're doing this thing. It fits our why. I couldn't see this company being in a downtown Bay Street office and with a bunch of suits coming in and barking orders at a middle management team. Like, we're growing. We've got almost 40, 50 people working here in Moncton right now at our Moncton office, supporting our franchisees across the world. Yeah. But I just, everyone who works here has that same type of servant mentality. And I think Atlantic Canadians, we typical Canadian personas who apologize and say thank you a lot, but I think Atlantic Canadians are way more. We probably cause that I guess that tagline for most Canadians, quite honestly, because like I said, I travel the world. I enjoy Canada, but no one holds a door for you in downtown Toronto. No one's no one's doing the things they do here. I've been fortunate too, like even not just the university, but the Chamber of Commerce. When we joined the first one, we're kids, we're 20 something, right? So you're joining the Chamber of Commerce with like a West Armour and a Bernard Arnault. Like these are the elite of business entrepreneurs, and they're taking your table and taking you around like you're a buddy from high school, right? Just opening up doors.
Their arms.
20. Yeah. And any question, anytime they would answer. And that was really weird because I thought, because I was taught, through business now, like you got to keep your secrets closed. You don't tell anybody what you're doing, but that wasn't the case in Atlantic Canada. Right. And I got to experience that with the Canadian Franchise Association as well. I get on that board and it's like, this is interesting. We're all franchisors. We're all trying to get franchisees to join our system, but I'm hearing from an A&W executive and a McDonald's executive and what they do, and the UPS store and how they work their system. And I'm creating all these ideas, and they're an open book. Yeah, so I became an open book as well, right? So it was really cool to have that.
Love it.
That network and that community.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think there's something. I agree with it. Obviously, it's a great specialness. And I'm sure a lot of the Atlantic Canadian culture permeates throughout your entire network of your franchisees, which is that specialness you talked about. I know with my business now, Shaftorial, which we're fortunate enough to do throughout North America and into the UK, we bring the element of the sociable. And, the sociable is all about that raise. And it's amazing how many people have never heard of the sociable. It's an Atlantic Canada piece. And we're able to share that piece of fun and camaraderie and connection. And so that's the best reason you could have for one is there because it's a darn good place to live. Bring your family up and to connect with other entrepreneurs. Ken, how do people connect with you? You're on LinkedIn. Ken LeBlanc.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn, Ken LeBlanc, Twitter, Ken LeBlanc, Facebook, Ken LeBlanc, propertyguys.com. You can easily find me there. You want to fire me an email, kleblanc@propertyguys.com. I'm still a bit old school in the email stuff, so I check that quite frequently. But
nice. Well, one thing about you, dude, is you may be busy, but you always find time, and I can't thank you enough for your continued support. We look forward to getting this great story not only to Atlantic Canadians, but to Canadians across our great nation who are going to continue to hear the story of what you're doing. One last question, I will let you go because I did have that in my head. What's the next 2 or 3 years look like? What's the vision from the CEO's desk?
Awesome. No, we got a really good roadmap. I think we got a 5-year plan. For the next 2 or 3 years, we're getting heavily into some of the licensed service side of things. So a lot of our franchisees are bringing on licensed agents into their business, which are going to allow us to get into like buyer side agreements. So representing people back and forth and disrupting the traditional, market within. So licensed services, showing houses, negotiating prices, all those fun things that we haven't done before. Rentals is coming down the pipe, and we're looking at doing a DIY product in the US that'll allow, basically an Amazon product where you can drop ship a sign your front lawn and be on our platform. So lots of things coming.
Look out. Here we go. Keep on happening, my man. Look forward to chatting with you again. Appreciate your time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Rivers. Bye now.
Cheers, man.